Oh, there's only one thing that got
Hello,
any
IX
votes.
ambassadors. Apparently nobody saw the poll. Or how many people voted.
Well, 7, which is pretty normal,
Oh,
but
well,
they
that's
all
just
voted
weird.
for one question.
Whoa, okay, I didn't even see the poll this week. Hi, everybody. It's hot as AF in here. Could we have the air conditioner on just a titch, please? We're all ladies, so we don't really like to turn on the air conditioner unless we really have to. But it's like literally was 100 degrees in my car when I got in it. So it seems like a time to turn the air conditioner on. Hey, Kristen. Good to see you. All right, so this week we're talking about business ethics. But before we get to that, we have a couple professional development things we want to touch on that are happening while we wait for people to arrive. So Kristen gets to hear the whole stinking thing, and she's here first.
Good job, Kristen. Winner.
Hashtag winning.
Yeah. Rachel's teaching project management classes the week of September 16th. First 2 days are project management 101. The last 3 days are guiding organizational change, which is all about how do you really get people from here to here and manage a project well.
Yeah, including budget, human resources, how do you allocate, all the things. It's pretty great. It's a fantastic class. That's why I teach it once a quarter, because I don't like teaching that much, but it's important stuff. So
it is. It's good for anybody who is actually in charge of a project. So even if your title is not project manager, but you're in charge of a project, or maybe you're starting a new business, great. It's a great exercise and training for people who are starting a new business. What else was I thinking? It's also, you can use it to study for project management certification.
Yeah, or I was going to say, or you're part of a existing company that has 0 experience in project management, and you're trying to have some kind of order around all of the things you're doing, yes. Which happens a lot. That's a lot of people I get.
Like almost all of them.
All right.
Who else is in here? Ooh, people I
Alicia.
don't know.
Hi, and Dave. I know all those people.
Oh, sweet. What else? Accountability Summit, getting it done in 2020. Here's a little secret for you IX ambassador folks who are brave enough to join us on the weekly. We really wanted to call it getting shit done in 2020, but we knew we wouldn't get away with that, or that would seem too unprofessional. So just know that when you join us for the Accountability Summit on September 25th in Sioux Falls, our goal is to really get shit done.
And have you get shit done. That is the most important. So it's really a workshopping day where you come and you can actually unplug yourself from your day-to-day stuff, plug yourself into what do I actually want to accomplish in 2020, and then how are you actually going to pull that off? Because a lot of us have aspirational goals, and we don't really have a structure or a focus on how we're actually going to get that done. So it's going to be a really great day, whether you come on your own and you want to brainstorm, whether you want to bring your team and all work together. It kind of depends on your culture type and how you like to work best, but it's going to be great. And it's at a wine bar in Sioux Falls, and it's not a huge venue. So we figure that after this week, we'll probably be full. So if you're interested at all, message us. Happy to answer questions. Or just hop on Eventbrite and get your tickets ordered while they're still available.
Yeah, I was speaking with someone who is who's probably going to join us, and I said, listen, if you're looking for sort of like high fives, warm hugs, boy, we're all going to get there together kind of attitude, it's not what you're going to get. You're going to get some, here's how teams work. This is why behaviors and processes are important, need to be married together. Now let's build a strategic accountability plan so you can marry your accountability for your team to your actual strategic plan for 2020. This is what we like to call Hong Kong no shit, getting things done. So she really appreciated that. She was like, oh, so it's not just like I bought a new purse and I also feel like I made 7 more friends and they all want me to have a Norwex party? No, that is not what we're doing.
No Norwex.
Oh, look, we posted that. Look at magically while our hands are moving right
That's
here.
Right. That's right.
Shelly.
That's what Shelly does for us.
That's right.
It's magical business.
Bibbidi bobbidi.
Bibbidi bobbidi boo. All right.
Any other announcements? Do we have any other announcements?
We have a whole events list that's happening. It is far too long to tell you about. So I guess one thing we do have is some self-directed programs. So we had a lot of people that really want to learn more about how to incorporate what they do with the book and the ideas behind it, and get a little more meaty about how do you use the tools and things. But they aren't ready to jump into the $5,000 commitment of being a licensed practitioner. So we actually created some self-directed online training, micro learning, YouTube style, super casual, couple-minute videos all about what we do and how we do it. So if you're interested in that, or you want to have some of your people take that is available also. And that's all online, all self-directed. So as needed, as you wish. So.
Look at all those yeses.
All the happiness right there. Okay, let's get to our topic.
All right, so we're talking about business ethics and common sense. Where do you draw the line?
Oh.
Yeah.
So Meg is the resident expert. She has a degree in business ethics. So she knows more about this from a theoretical perspective than probably all of us put together.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But, I think the reality of business ethics, so there's so many components that we are not even going to address in the next 20 minutes or whatever it is, because there's corporate social responsibility and the whole ethics behind, how are you working sustainably? How are you working environmentally? Diversity and inclusion falls into that. Fair trade is another thing that falls into it for some organizations.
I would think that
and EEOC stuff.
Yeah,
so fair opportunities for gender.
I would think at some point how you treat your people should be a business ethics concern. I'm sure it probably isn't officially, but.
Well, so that's kind of my take on it. Is there it's been broken down into so many different tactical areas, which it has to be so it can be governed. I get that. But really, at the end of the day, business ethics is about how you treat your people. Having said that, though, you can find yourself in some pretty sticky situations. One interesting one that's come up a lot, especially in manufacturing, with the allowing drugs to be legal in certain states in the country. The companies still get to mandate whether or not they allow, you to fail a drug test and still be employed with their company. But, there's kind of a debate, particularly in manufacturing, mining, heavy equipment type industry, where it's like, well, geez, we're losing all of our really good people just because they smoke a little pot on the weekends, and is it really worth it? And, then what are you forsaking? Well, then you're forsaking the safety of other people. But is it really? Because if somebody came to work drunk, that'd be worse. And there is real logic in both sides of that debate. And so that's a really interesting, true ethical conversation that has come up. And so, what I would say is, obviously, whatever industry you're in, be really, really clear at what the expectations are from a regulation perspective. Legally, what should you do? What do you need to do? Particularly around finance stuff. If you're regulated by GAAP or what's the other one? Whatever it is. FINRA, that's what it is. So be regulated by those. Know what the regulations are, especially around investment, insider trading. Martha Stewart, she knows all about that. You can look her up if you have any questions about how to get away with it.
We should talk about that over cocktail sometime, because I think that there's a ton of people doing insider trading, and why was she picked? And anyway, different.
I totally think that was all a conspiracy, man.
Yeah. I think and the fact she's a powerful, rich woman had a lot to do with the reason why she was, because there's a lot of powerful, rich men that are doing insider trading, and they're not getting arrested.
Yeah, I think it's just because somebody knew that she made a better sweet potato pie than them, and so they're putting her away no matter what.
They can crochet, but she can crochet better than they can. That bitch.
But I think, the first rule of thumb is know what your actual regulations are. And then the next one is decide what standards you're going to have within your company. And then you have to decide what standards, whatever those standards are within your company, because sometimes we don't get to decide what they are. Then I think the next most important thing is decide what your personal standards are.
Right.
And if you're working for a company that you really want to believe is awesome and doing the right things, but they're actually not, by your opinion, they're not doing the right things, man, you got to have your resignation letter handy. I'll never forget this. We had believe it. Oh, Jesus. I was like, is something on fire? There's a spider somewhere. I know it. This bitch is out.
I can't stand to work here anymore.
Can't stand it. We had I think he was like the VP of HR for Union Pacific, because I went to school in Omaha at Creighton, and so we were right there where Union Pacific is headquartered. And our business ethics, one of the very first classes I had, Dr. Crocker had this gentleman in to speak with us, and he actually carried a copy of his signed resignation letter in his coat pocket, the inside pocket, every day. He put it, just like he put his wallet in his pocket, he put his resignation letter in there, and he said the best, really the best approach to business ethics or common sense or whatever you want to call it is stay true to yourself and be ready to resign anytime you think you need to. And he said that's really been a great guiding principle for me throughout my life. And that really stuck with me. I think
he should have left. If he thinks that working for Union Pacific there's such a high risk of something ethically not happening correctly that he has to carry his letter in his pocket.
No. His whole career he did. That was just his MO.
He sounds like a crazy person.
No, he's probably just a stabilizer.
Yeah, he might be a stabilizer.
Anyway, I thought it was really an interesting way to think about it, to really kind of keep your Jiminy Cricket in your pocket, so to speak. Like kind of that guiding inside voice about, what's right and what's not. Because at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, there's regulation around a lot of stuff, but what's good business ethics and what's common sense? Well, your gut's going to tell you that. Like, how many times have you probably wanted to slap somebody across the face because they said something stupid at work, but you don't because you know you can't because it's illegal and it's disrespectful and it's not. How many times have you done it?
I'm counting. You said how many times have you wanted to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, just to start here.
I know, right? I don't have enough hands.
But you don't do those things because you know it's not right. So I would argue that it's all about setting your personal standards inside of what the company standards are, and if they match up, great, and if they don't, move on, and knowing what the regulations are that exist.
I think the cool thing is I think we really address this a lot in the book, even though we don't really talk about ethics, because to me, well, it goes back to my project management roots, but we have a lot of the same ideas in the book where part of your responsibility as a responsible leader and manager is that you are transparent about what's going on and you communicate the things that are happening. So even if it's something that's terrible that happened, you communicate it quickly and to the people that need to know. And I think that where business ethics can really go wrong, or where you can go wrong ethically, is a lot of times you don't talk about the things, right? It's like secrets lead to bad things happening, right? So in my perspective, we didn't really talk about ethics specifically, but in my mind, that being transparent and being a truth teller, those are things that are critical to staying on the right side of the conversation. Now, it doesn't mean something ethical didn't happen, but it can only get worse if it's kept a secret. I mean, look at a lot of the improper behaviors of, what jumps to my mind is at Penn State, the pedophile thing where the boys went to camp and there was a pedophile that was in charge of the boys at the camp and there was molesting that happened. And instead of just addressing that, we just picked up the rug and swept it underneath and hope no one ever find out. So if you're ever asked to hide something and because you don't want anyone to find out about it, red flag, right? Lots of flags everywhere.
Yeah. And I think, true, like actual emotional dilemmas happen with issues that are not maybe so clear. Now, I would argue that having pedophiles manage young boys is a clear problem. Sometimes it's not, and then people agree to help each other hide that, and that's weird. Same thing with financial manipulation. Enron is another one where you think, what in the actual were you doing? But I think, like, for those of us who are business people in an everyday setting, the real things that come up are things like, how do I make sure that I'm fairly treating all of the people in my organization? That, I've shoot in white collar, blue collar environment. If there's a female and a male and they both have to do physical labor, and the female is, no joke, shorter than the male, or not as physically strong and cannot lift 200 pounds or 150 or whatever that is, how do you manage that situation? Because then that becomes an issue of, not giving equal rights to people or equal opportunities if it's a requirement to do the job or to advance to another job. So I think those kinds of things are a better representation of what, most of us struggle with on a daily basis. And, again, the litigious answer is you make everything fair and equal, period. And really, that if that's the case, law can be cumbersome and annoying, but it's all drawn in blood. Like, there's a reason that there are all the laws that we have. Some of them are really, in my opinion, some of them are really dumb, but they're there because other people in history have experienced these same problems. And so they're probably drawn by a lot of logic and common sense. So if you're going to be breaking a law or a regulation, outside of just the sheer act of breaking the law or regulation, for those of you who are chaos tolerant, I'm speaking to you because I know you don't care about breaking the law. I mean, there's probably a gut instinct, some common sense that goes along with that law, and that's why it exists, and that's why you should pay attention to it, besides the fact that you're probably going to get sued if you break it. So there's always that monetary value assigned to that.
I think the trick, though, is that even with the Enrons and the Penn State thing, with the pedophile situation, I think that the trap and the reason it becomes an ethical dilemma, I mean, from the outside, it's like, well, of course, A, you don't cook the books, and B, you don't protect people that don't deserve protection. But of course, the balance is Enron did it to protect the company or to make money. I forget exactly what the Enron basis was, probably both. But, the Penn State thing was done to protect the reputation of Penn State. And so if you think about, oh my God, we have this 200-year history and the largest alumni population in the world, and if this gets out, everyone's going to hate us, and we might get suspended from the football season and all that stuff. I mean, people are making those bad decisions because they have justified them in a different way. So the trap is when I don't know at what point you say, this feels like I'm justifying bad behavior. I don't know in the ethics world how you sort of think about that and how you weigh those things. Clearly in Enron and the Penn State case, it's way the other side. Like, people should have quit and been calling the SEC the day they were asked to do the bad things. But the other hand, like the mortgage crisis, that was an accumulation of policy and bad decisions made by mortgage lenders across the country, right? So every single one of those tiny little ethical problematic decisions was probably like, well, it's not that big a deal. I'm helping this person get a house and it'll be fine in the long run, turned into this literally nation destroying sort of situation. And so I think the hard part is we almost can always justify our way out of as questionable ethical plays. And so how you do that and who you have around you, and maybe it goes back to your values thing, is maybe how it gets out of hand. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you let your greed or desire, your greed or your ego supersede your values, that's when unethical decisions are made. But I would like to say, kind of on the flip side of things, we've become very, very distinctly self-aware as humans on the earth about how to be environmentally responsible. I mean, where was I? Blaze Pizza, they no more straws. Now they have this plastic lid that's like a sippy cup. Apparently that plastic lid is not actually impeding the health of the earth. But anyway, that's a different topic. Stupidity is one thing I struggle with. Just don't get it. But I think on the other side of things, there's a difference between out-businessing someone or making really good, very savvy business decisions or taking bigger risks than other people are willing to take, and being unethical. And I think that's something that, frankly, capitalism is kind of founded on. And we've, in some ways as a society in the US, sort of, maybe as a whole, have kind of forgotten about that or said, oh, gee, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, or we got to make this fair for everybody. So I think, knowing the difference between, there's a very fine line, but if you write a better proposal and offer something better and you can get more money than the other guy, well, then you probably out-businessed them. That's not unethical, as long as you can sleep at night and you don't feel like a big dirtbag. But the real trick about business ethics is that the dirtbags never feel like a dirtbag.
That's what I mean. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that the people covering up the pedophile stuff had it completely justified in their mind by the end. So we always had this thing we called the Washington Post test. So when I was on Landsat, this was a rule that we used. I forget who brought it up, but we'd always say if we did anything that we would see in the Washington Post as a headline and be horrified by, embarrassed by, get in trouble for, we shouldn't be doing it. So if the headline is Rachel doesn't pay her taxes, that I would hate to see as a Washington Post headline. So I pay my taxes, or lots of other things, but that's sort of one of the ways when you think about, is this really a problem? Like part of in our space, one of the things that you always wonder about is, can you believe the numbers that people give you? We made $4 million last year. Prove it. And you're like, there's no way this company made $4 million. So you hear all of these people in the space, and they're all spouting numbers that you're like, is that a real number or is that a fake number? And that's, I think, where the ethics gets a little fuzzy, right? Because we hear a lot about, fake it till you make it, or, you're being aspirational and you're setting these big goals. And so how do you as a company, how do you set it? How do you feel good about, listen, this is what our goal is. This is where we're going to drive to. This is where we're going to be this year. And be true to that and our mission. And then at the same time balance, okay, well, we are working with this company and we can't really say anything about that, but we want to roll that into this thing over here. And how do we, so there's a lot of really gray area things that we don't, I think if we thought really hard about it, would probably come up more often in small business, especially, or just in advertising. Like I was just thinking, we're the #1 hamburger place in the Black Hills or whatever. It's like, really? Says who? Is that overstating? Is it ethically wrong to say that we're #1 in what? Who like you and your 10 closest friends? So I think there's a lot of the advertising thing that it makes me raise my eyebrows at and wonder, that, where does that cross the ethical line about some of the advertising?
Yeah, everywhere. Also
Probably
in the news.
Right, but that's what I mean. So I think
that's why I think society now is such a this is so ironic. In one side of, it's like, save the turtles, no more straws, recycle, no more oil in the ocean, blah blah blah. But then on the other side, people listen to the news and it's all fake and ridiculous and unethical. really. They're being fed unethical, or it's unethical in the sense of they're sharing, the media is finding things, making stuff up, they're cherry picking information. And same with marketing. Like, Burger King is the #1 seller of the Whopper. Well, you're the only ones that have the Whopper, but people are buying that psychologically. And so it's just, the whole thing is a mess. This is why I say it's really important to be true to what are your values? What is good, healthy, transparent communication? How do you feel about it? Are you brave enough to not work for the company who doesn't stand by the kinds of values and standards that you have?
Yeah.
Okay, questions?
Let's just go over the question people actually voted for.
Company policy or common sense. Can you explain when and where company policy ends and common sense takes over? Well, there is always a debate about, if you have too much policy, you basically run all of the common sense out of the room, because people stop thinking about what are good decisions because the policy just says you do this. Well, then if, and particularly when it has to do with people, you come up against a situation that you've never had before, and the policy doesn't manage you, or engineer out all of the risk in that situation, then those people trying to make those decisions at that time don't know what to do. So if you have too much policy, too much in writing, you can run common sense out of the room. On the other side, though, the unfortunate reality is common sense isn't a real thing. And it never has been. Maybe it used to be, common sense used to be more of a thing because, I don't know, in 1960, how many people were on the earth? Not as many as there are now.
I have no idea where you're going with this, so I'm really excited about it.
So common sense, there used to be less people, so thoughts and concepts were more common in a larger group of people. Now there's so many people and so many variations, and everyone is so connected across the world. There is no more common sense, because I can think one thing, you can think one thing, Shelly can think one thing. We can all coexist in this tiny little office, and we all get along pretty okay. So common sense is really, that's where leadership comes in. And so you as a leader provide people with understanding, allow them to ask questions, and that's what over time creates common sense. So if you lean too much on people should just have common sense. Why do we need a policy about that? Why do we need a shoe policy? Because there is no common sense. If I think I want to wear sandals and Rachel thinks she wants to wear high heels every day, she thinks I look like a bum hippie and I think she looks like a hooker. Like that, there is no common sense in that. And both of us get to think that. And if the company can't say, well, Rachel, you can't think Meg's a bum hippie, and Meg, you can't think Rachel's a hooker, we'll both sue them. So you have to, as a company, I think it's really about, you put in consistent policies.
Do you want everyone to be a hooker or everyone to be?
Yeah. Or do you want everyone to just accept everyone? And then the magic words in HR world are, every situation will be treated on a case-by-case basis. And that's really, I think, that case-by-case basis scenario is where the line is drawn between what the policy says, how to manage a situation, and then managing the situation based on the facts that you have.
Yeah, because it seems to me the crazy thing is that the common sense thing to me is also about trust, right? So have you trained your people, or do they know, have experience what they're doing? Can you trust them to make decisions the way that is best for the company? Because most people have no idea what's best for the organization, what's best for other people. And so like to your point about the high heels or the flip-flops, the question is, what is the best for the company brand, the company? If you're a coder in a basement, and you're a tech company, everyone wears hoodies and flip-flops. Great. If you're a high-end financial private equity firm, you better have a three-piece suit on or you're not going to be taken seriously. So I think for me, the disconnect comes a little bit is that what's common sense for you and common sense for me has very little to do with the common sense that what's best for the company. And I think that's where the policy comes in, because it might be common sense for me to sleep more because I'm happier and I work better, but it might not be common sense for the company to show up 4 hours a day. And so I think that's where it kind of bridges to your point of everyone has their own view on things. It's the company has to decide what's the common sense, what's the policy, what are the thoughts, what are the processes that's the most right for who the company is and the message that they're sending people. And I think that's where the common sense piece falls away. People don't have that perspective unless you're the owner or the founders of the company. Very quickly you get out of the C-suite and no one has a clue what's the right thing for the company most of the time.
Yeah, I would agree.
Interesting. I'm clearly not a business ethics expert. I'm just thinking about these things for the first time, really. Fun.
All right, there you have it. Next week we'll talk about weather.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
be definitely playing out of my league there.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Then I can say a little more. I can have a little more knowledge about that stuff.
I like it. Okay. Well,
I think that's it.
That's the end of the questions, and we are right on time. We're really hitting the nail on the head
with the half an hour thing. We're trying to keep it to a half hour.
We should tell you though that we did enjoy our executive retreat last week.
Oh yeah. Thank you for your grace about us not being here.
Yeah. So we had a great day on Wednesday of collaboration, talking about what the next year is going to look like. And then on Thursday, we went on a hike for up Bear Butte, which is a local attraction around here. It's actually considered sacred land by the Lakota tribe. And
you can see why. It is incredible.
Yeah. It's a ginormous, it's not really a mountain. It's not really a hill.
No. It's butte.
It's a butte. Well, it says though that it's actually not a butte.
It's actually
it's a volcano.
It's the old volcano, yeah. Like Devil's Tower. It's the old magma part of the volcano.
Yeah. Well, it's ginormous in comparison to the plains that surround it for hundreds of miles.
It's
crazy. Several miles.
It's crazy cool.
Yeah.
To be on sea.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun, and I think it was good for us to take some of our own medicine and take a break and air any grievances, dirty laundry.
The airing of grievances.
Yeah.
What's the Festivus? Airing of grievances. That's where that comes from, with Seinfeld. The airing of grievances.
Oh, I don't know.
It's very funny. Anyway, Google it. Festivus for the rest of us.
All right, cool. Well, we can't wait to see those of you who are motivated and awesome and really ready to get shit done in 2020 at the Accountability Summit.
Don't miss it, man. It's going to be great.
Yeah, in Sioux Falls. And I guess that's it for now.
I think so. Okay.
All right. Lead powerfully.
Change the world. See you next time. Bye, guys.